There's a big rock at the north end of Bondi Beach called, naturally enough, Big Rock. Why is it also called Mermaid Rock?
Why should you never sing Frank Sinatra's My Way as your karaoke song in Thailand and Malaysia?
The second hand on a Swiss railway clock only takes 58.5 seconds to complete a full revolution. Why is that?
And finally, in this episode, what does Playboy magazine have to do with LA's famous Hollywood sign?
Hello and welcome to REMORANDOM, a celebration of everything interesting. I'm Remo Giuffre.
And I'm Claudia Chan Shaw.
Claudia, welcome back from Singapore. You're gone. I missed you.
Thanks.
How was your trip?
Thanks for missing me. The trip was fantastic. It really was wonderful. You know, you see postcards of Singapore these days. It's all modern with these new slick buildings. But this was a lovely trip because I took a group of art lovers from Australia and we also delved into old Singapore. So, you know, the guy who sells the antique Chinese musical instruments or the Chinese opera costumes, shop houses that were built in the 1800s. So really, it's
Beautiful.
No longer a stopover. It's the main event.
Great. Incredible. And Hong Kong's your next trip, right?
Yes. Oh, can't wait.
Anyway, you haven't missed much here. There's been crazy weather in all across Sydney and especially here in Bondi with incredible cyclonic winds whipping the sand up and dumping it onto the promenade to the point where I was sandblasted back and forth on my way to the pool a couple of times. But it's interesting, you know, you think about storms taking the sand away. My experience of Bondi is that more often than not, it actually brings the sand inland and they're still cleaning it up. There's still council workers, all manner of machinery trying to shovel that stuff back out to sea. It's an obstacle course. Kids love it. Dogs love it. Our dog is especially happy running through the sand. But it's a good lead into the first thing I want to chat about today, and that is the Bondi Mermaids. So, as I said in the intro, there is a big rock at the north end, and it is called Big Rock because, you know, in Bondi we like to call a spade a spade. It is a 235-ton boulder.
Wow.
Sitting there with a plaque on it, which tells the story of the rock. And the story of the rock is that it was reportedly dumped there by a once in 100-year cyclonic winds on the 15th of July, 1912. Seems incredible that happened because this is a seriously large rock, but photographs of the headland from before that time don't show the rock. So anyway, everyone kind of believes that it got dumped there by a storm. Anyway, there were also, since 1960, 2 Bondi mermaids who sat on that big rock.
You don't mean real mermaids,
no,
do you?
I'd like to say they were made of bronze, but they weren't. They were made of fiberglass covered in, you know, some kind of bronze finish. And they were this sculptor Lyle Randolph had this dream to put these mermaids there on that rock. He tried to get the council to pay for it and fund it and commission it, but they wouldn't do so. So he ended up doing it on his own coin. It was $4,000 expense at the time, which in today's dollars is about $75,000. So it was for an artist to spend that amount of dough on his vision. The mermaid statues were based on the models for the 2 mermaids were local women, Jan Carmody and Lynette Willier, both champions swimmers and surfers. There's a little story that I tell in the chapter about how Jan was a little bit shy to pose naked for Randolph, so she wore a bikini for the sessions. Not only did she wear a bikini for the sessions, but she had her boyfriend come along and be present just so there would be no shenanigans. So the mermaids were on the rock. Barely a month later, one of them got nicked by some students in a prank.
Oh, no.
Mysteriously turned up at the engineering department at the University of Sydney. The Roman Catholic Church weren't all that keen on the Mermaids being there. At the time, their spokesman, whose real name was Dr. Rumble, I kid you not, Dr. Rumble took the view that the naked figures were potentially luring young men to their watery graves.
Oh, dearie me. Dear Lord or lie.
A bad thing. So Heavy Seas claimed to Lynette completely in 1974.
Oh, dear.
And in the same storm, Jan lost an arm and her tail. And they just kind of sat there sadly and broken until 1976. Then the council took them away and they sat in storage until in 1999 someone had the idea to actually put them in a display case, and you can still see them in the Waverley Library. They're preserved.
It's a
so
pity they were never brought back to life as bronze sculptures.
Yes,
and part of the local scene.
Well, funny you should say that, because there is a local woman, goes by the name of Liz Mania, or the official Bondi Mermaid. And for you people watching this episode rather than listening, I'll throw up a picture of Liz Mania for you so you can see her in all of her colourful, scaly-tailed glory. She's got infinite wardrobe of colourful mermaid-esque things. Anyway, Liz Mania is obsessed about bringing the mermaids back and has made it her lifelong mission. And you cannot bump into Liz Mania without hearing the latest update. Council aren't all that keen because just like the Roman Catholic Church, they actually think that probably whacking them back out there on the rock is probably not a great idea, given the number of tourists that come down to the beach and how getting just the right Instagram shot might be perilous.
Yes.
But they were a part of life in the 60s. I remember them. Lots of people do remember them fondly. So a little bit of
local history.
Poetry and local history.
Yeah.
So that's my kickoff for today.
Oh, I hope that Liz has her way. I watch this space.
Secretly, I do too.
Yes. Now, Remo, do you have a go-to karaoke song? Is this something you would do? Would you even entertain the thought of getting up and singing in front of people?
Maybe in my younger years it would have been like, I found her diary underneath a tree. Don't tell Melanie that. She thinks that's the daggiest thing possible.
Oh.
Maybe some Steely Dan thing, or I'm not sure.
Okay. Yep.
I'm not big on karaoke.
Maybe Sweet Caroline. Ba, ba, ba. Bohemian Rhapsody, that'd be hard. That'd be really, really difficult.
Yeah, and long too. That's a real...
Yes, and long. It's like, get off. Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive. I was hosting a Lunar New Year event several years ago in Randwick in a park, and I was hosting this karaoke. And these little kids got up on stage and they sang Africa by Toto. And these children, I thought, how do these kids know this song? Yeah. Anyway, the word karaoke is a funny old word, isn't it? Did you ever wonder where we would get this word from? So it's a Japanese word, and it's two words put together. The first part is kara, which means empty, and the oke part comes from the Japanese word orchestra. Oh, okay. So it means empty orchestra. And it's very, very popular around the world. It still is. And people sing to recorded music, and it's in clubs and pubs and bars. And the recorded music is instrumental. And then it's a popular song. You sing along following the words on a screen. So it makes you look really good. And it's usually accompanied by copious amounts of drinking to give you the Dutch courage to get up there in the first place and sing. So the roots of karaoke can be dated back to 1971 in Kobe in Japan, when a guy called Daisuke Inoue was a nightclub musician. He was a bit of an inventor, and he cobbled together this coin-operated karaoke machine that was based on an 8-track cassette deck, and he called it the 8 Duke. And he loaned the machine to different clubs for nothing in exchange for a portion of their monthly earnings. It sounds a little mafia, doesn't it?
Mm.
But he was very clever because he recorded his own versions of the popular songs so that they were easier for amateur singers to sing along with. And he had this rudimentary reverb function that made them sound even better. So he's often considered the inventor of karaoke, but he never actually patented the creation. So really, really popular in Japan. In the 80s, it takes off around Asia, South Korea, the Philippines, China, United States, Europe, and Australia, of course. Dedicated bars start popping up for karaoke singers. Okay, it's a lot of fun. But not all the karaoke songs, not all the karaoke stories are happy ones.
No.
And there's violence associated with karaoke. So it makes the headlines in Malaysia, Thailand, and the Philippines with reports of singers being murdered by listeners who are disturbed by their poor singing.
No.
In the Philippines, there are at least half a dozen killings associated with people singing Frank Sinatra's My Way.
Oh.
And the newspapers there labeled the phenomenon the My Way killings. So to this day, based on that, some bars still refuse to play that song, My Way. So my advice to
you can't blame them. Can't blame them, really.
my advice is skip My Way next time you're singing karaoke because it may all come unstuck in the end.
Awful. What are the
Yes.
other fave songs that people sing?
Oh, Living on a Prayer.
Right.
Eye of the Tiger. Those big anthems. Oh, you got to do a bit of Barnsey and a bit of Farnsey too.
The last time I sang karaoke, I think I was in a small room in Taipei with a guy that I knew through the kind of TEDx network, and I remember lots of food, lots of drink, and shedding inhibition. That was lots of shedding inhibition. Not shedding clothes. No.
What did you sing?
What
when
did
you
I
were shedding?
sing? Oh,
yeah.
don't ask me. I can't remember. Hurricane. Bob Dylan.
Oh, okay. Oh, that would have been particularly dronian, like the one note samba.
Yeah.
What do you got for me next?
I've got the Swiss railway clock for you next, Claudia. You're an aesthete. You've
Yes.
seen this. There's 5,000 of them. Every railway station in Switzerland has one on the platform. It's in the permanent design collection of both the Design Museum of London and the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. It was created specifically for railway stations in 1944 by an engineer employed by Swiss Federal Railways. His name was Hans Hilfiger. So it's just got the black hour signs, the little black minute bits, but the red second hand is in the shape of a railway guard signalling disc. So there's like a big circle at the end of it. Very easy to see the circle, the second hand, because there's this big whopping blob of the circle at the end of the second hand. But there's a weird thing. There's a weird thing which I found the most fascinating thing about this topic is that the time it takes for that second hand to do a full revolution of the clock face for a Swiss railway clock is not 60 seconds, as you would imagine, but 58.5 seconds.
Well, why?
I know.
Why?
Confusing, right?
Yeah.
Why is because it takes 58.5 seconds to go all the way, and then it has this little rest at the top for 1.5 seconds before it clicks forward. And the reason why it's having that little rest is that it gives like all the trains that much time to get started, so the Swiss can continue to believe in the fact that their trains always start dead on time, right?
That's
So
lovely.
It's a sham. It's a scam. But it's a beautiful scam, and that face has been licensed to watches. There's Mondane watches use the face
Yes,
since
I
about
know that one.
1986.
Very clean
Um,
design.
then Apple for the Apple Watch iOS 6, the operating system, actually used that face initially without permission or authority. They kind of retrospectively had to pay the Swiss national rail operator around 22.4 million US dollars
Mm.
to license the clock design for their operating system. And then they decided later to remove it after all anyway. So there you go. Swiss railway clock. You'll never look at them the same again.
I will not. And it's a bit of a step up from the cuckoo clock, isn't it? Thank you, Swiss. Well, we're seeing we're gone international. Paris has got the Eiffel Tower. Sydney's got the Sydney Opera House. London's got Big Ben. What's LA got? LA's got the Hollywood sign. And we look at the Hollywood sign and we think entertainment, razzmatazz.
Yes.
It's iconic. And with the recent fires, it's very worrying. Hopefully the Hollywood sign's still going to be there. But the original Hollywood sign was erected in 1923, and it actually said Hollywood Land. And if you're watching movies that are set in those times, you'll notice Hollywood Land in the background in the hills. But Hollywood Land was actually promoting a new housing development that was above the Hollywood district in Los Angeles. Well, this sign, Hollywood Land, was pretty wonky, sort of put together with a bit of wooden panels and sticky tape and whatever else, and it regularly blew over. So they removed the part land and the sign stayed as Hollywood, and they restored it in 1949. And it kicked off its iconic status at that time. So it's one of the best known landmarks in California, in the United States, in the world, in fact. And it pops up in popular culture a lot. And you can see it from all different parts of the Los Angeles basin. And because it's so highly visible, people like to mess with it. There are pranks associated with the famous sign. So in 1976 and 2017, it became Hollyweed, as in WEED, Hollyweed, to promote the decriminalization of cannabis. Hollywood in 1976 and 1987 switched to Holywood for the visit of Pope John Paul. In 1990, there was opposition to the Gulf War, so the sign said Oil War. It was called Jolly Good in 1993 for unknown reasons by someone who was just having a lot of fun.
Wow.
And in 2021, it was switched to Holly Boob, which was to challenge censorship on Instagram. Now, in 1978, Hugh Hefner came along, and he, of course, is the now deceased founder of Playboy magazine. And he wanted to draw attention to and create a public campaign to preserve the badly deteriorated sign. And so restoration was completed thanks to 9 donors who each gave about 27,000 US dollars at the time. And they all restored a specific letter. So the musician Alice Cooper donated to restore the letter O, but that was in memory of his mate Groucho Marx because they were good pals and they were neighbors. So he put in the money for the letter O. Hugh Hefner promoted and put money into the letter Y, and the donations ended up totaling 250,000 US dollars, which is about $1.2 million from a couple of years ago. So the sign celebrated its 100th anniversary in 2023, and the festivities went on for a whole year. So hooray for Hollywood.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for that. There's a golf course around the corner, and they've just put white signs up on the hill with the ocean backdrop, and it says Bondi Golf. It looks like the Hollywood sign, and I have to think they'd probably get more traction and more tourists up there if they'd put Bondi Wood, which is actually the name of a local film festival. Anyway, that's like yet another thing I have to follow up and harangue.
Oh, yeah. Or even just Bondi.
Harangue people about, yeah. Well, that's real interesting, and thanks, Claudia. I will add links to all of our stories today in the show notes, and you can subscribe, follow, do all the things that you normally do with podcasts online. You can watch us on YouTube and Spotify. And
we'd love your suggestions about fabulous topics to put in Memorandum.
yeah, I'm running dry. The green book.
Remo's listening.
The green book is going to the printer soon. But I got nothing. I got nothing for 5, 6, or 7, and we just have to make sure that we fill them with lots of goodness. You can actually catch up on the series. All of our books are available online at remorandom.com, and see you next time.
See ya.
Thanks.